New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Live from a secure concrete bunker somewhere in Ohio, New Thought Media Network presents Pastor Michael Mangus with Friday's Fireside Chat, spiritual conversation for today. Here he is from the secret radio room, surrounded by thousands of watts, Pastor Michael Mangus.
Well, good evening to one and all across the United States and also around the world. It is time once again for another fun-filled throwback, and yes, it is a guaranteed good time this evening here on the Fireside Chat on the New Thought Media Network. I am Reverend Michael Mangus. I am broadcasting again from the super secret concrete bunker that only my producer, Diego Reyes, only he knows where it's at. Everybody else, especially the head of our network, the Reverend Robert Brzezinski, he has no clue where the top secret concrete bunker is located, and we are going to keep it that way. Well, hi there. Good evening. We have a wonderful show for you this evening. Please feel free to interact with us by posting your comments either on Facebook or on YouTube. And again, all my shy people out there, I know some of you don't like to comment. Just send me an email, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com, pastormichaelmangus@gmail.com. I read those during the week. And again, would love to get your feedback on what we do here on the Friday's Fireside Chat. So our purpose that I state every single week, the reason that we get our cup of cocoa or coffee or whatever drink that we would like, and we start the fireplace up, we have a conversation about what is going on in the world from a New Thought perspective. And that we talk about the whole idea of oneness. So what is our part in healing the planet? What is our part here? I believe that we're all here on mission this time, that we're all here. The reason we're here is, again, to help bring others to the recognition of their own divinity. So we have a wonderful guest for you this evening, coming in at the last minute. We'll have to pay her extra for that. Reverend Karen Cleveland is a multifaceted Centers for Spiritual Living minister who hosts a wonderful podcast called Connectedness. Reverend Karen also leads life-transforming safaris around the world. And if that wasn't enough, she's also an animal communicator. Oh, yes. So newly ordained. Congratulations. The Reverend Karen Cleveland will be with us here in just a few moments. Let's start our check on the news here, starting with CNN. First of all, the 149th Kentucky Derby, the first horse race in the coveted Triple Crown, is set to run on Saturday in Louisville. It's not Louisville. It's Louisville. You got to pronounce it correctly. In Louisville. However, officials from the Churchill Downs racetrack, the home of the famed Derby, are calling attention to several recent horse deaths within the last 5 days. Since the start of Kentucky Derby week on April 29th, and again, for those people who are not familiar with the race, usually race week, which is the week before, that's where all the locals participate. They don't even go close to Churchill Downs on race day, on actual race day. Both horses were trained, that they don't know the reason for death, were trained by Safi Joseph Jr. So in response, the company that operates the Kentucky Derby indefinitely suspended Joseph on Thursday, but the race will remain planned as scheduled. Bill Mudd, who's the Churchill Downs president and chief operating officer, says the safety of all of our horses and human athletes and the integrity of our sport is in the highest priority. And maybe Reverend Karen will have something to say about that in the second half of our program. Tomorrow is also the coronation of King Charles III. Royal flags from all around the world are already gathering on the streets of London, decked out in flags and crowns and homemade regalia. The UK capital city will be packed on Saturday as hundreds of thousands are expected to celebrate King Charles III's coronation, lining the route of the procession as he makes his way from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey and also back again. So if you did not get your invitation, Diego, did you get your invitation to go to the coronation? Oh, you didn't. You didn't get your, oh, okay. He's saying you didn't. Well, I didn't either. But if you want to, you can. If you want to see it live, you're going to have to get up at 6 o'clock Eastern time. And that's 6 a.m. Eastern time to watch it on CNN and other cable channels. So after the ceremony, the newly crowned King Charles and Queen Camilla will travel back to Buckingham Palace in a gold state coach, which has been used in every coronation since 1831. They then will make an appearance on the palace balcony alongside members of the royal family, and they'll watch a flypast of over 60 military aircraft scheduled to last 6 minutes. The regular broadcast on the cable channels start at 11 o'clock in the morning. But if you want to see it live on the British Broadcasting Service, British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, again, go on their website and they'll be more than happy to. At 6 o'clock in the morning, you can watch the coronation. In other news here from Ukraine, the head of the Wagner, the private military company hired by Russia to advance its war in Ukraine, says that its fighters will leave the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut due to inefficient support from Moscow. Their president explained that he will withdraw his Wagner units on Wednesday because without ammunition, they are doomed to a senseless death. The move comes after Wagner's boss unleashed an expletive-laden challenge to the Russian military leadership on Thursday, blaming them for all the casualties suffered by Wagner. The mercenary group has taken on a growing role in the Ukraine conflict in recent months, as the Russian forces falter and has been highly visible on the front lines, where the head of Wagner has claimed credit for territorial gains. So our prayers continue for Ukraine and other troubled areas of the earth. You would figure, though, that by the 21st century, that humanity would have figured out a way to solve conflicts without going to war. Just think how much resources that we would have if we did not have military budgets. We could feed everybody. We could give everybody a free education, including up through graduate school, up to a PhD. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, that's what I set forth here. I think that, again, and I pray for peace in the world and know that, again, the peace and harmony comes and that we're able then to be a part of that peace. So my prayers, again, for peace, harmony, and justice, they do continue. Again, kudos to my friend, Reverend Katie Rocks. Oh, I'm sorry, not Reverend yet. Our ministerial intern. I don't want to get her in trouble, but our ministerial intern, Katie Rocks, for her work with the Prayers for Ukraine campaign that has united an international interfaith team of individuals from all around the world that support the people in Ukraine through prayer and also financial assistance. So what a wonderful thing that we're doing. And kudos to Katie and her team for all that they do. We have news from Serbia this evening. A 21-year-old gunman suspected of killing at least 8 people in Serbia on Thursday has been arrested after a massive manhunt overnight involving hundreds of Serbian Special Forces members. A spokesperson for the country's interior ministry said the massacre took place on Thursday night in the village of Dubona. That's 37 miles southeast of the Serbian capital of Belgrade. It was the country's second mass shooting in just 2 days. The Balkan country was rocked by news Wednesday of a 13-year-old boy opening fire on classmates at a school in Belgrade. And that shooting left 8 children dead along with a security guard. So, what did the president of Serbia and the legislators do at the press conference? We need to learn some lessons here in the United States. The Serbian government has introduced a set of measures on Thursday to prevent potential violence in schools a day after, not years, but the day after a 13-year-old boy shot and killed 8 students and a guard in a Belgrade elementary school. The shooter took the guns belonging to his dad and went to the school where he killed 9 people and again wounded 6 students and a teacher before turning himself in. Because of his age, the boy cannot be criminally prosecuted under Serbian law, but he will be placed in a psychiatric institution. Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić said, I had to practice that a few times. The government said in a statement that it had decided to halt issuing licenses to weapon holders. Let's understand in Serbia that per capita, they have more guns than us here in the United States. The Justice Ministry will prepare changes to the criminal law to prosecute those who enable access of weapons to children. The government has also tasked the Justice Ministry to change the legislation to lower the age for criminal punishment from 12 from the current 14 and organize groups of experts to counter peer violence in schools. It also would set up a working group for the safety of children on the internet that will consider banning certain sites. So I read that to challenge our own government here in the United States and legislators to take action also. Thoughts and prayers aren't enough. We have children being mowed down at our schools here because of guns. So maybe it's time here to repeal the Second Amendment and have much stricter gun laws in our country, like they do in Australia, like they do in the UK, and like they will do here in Serbia. They have a couple of these, and guess what? They change the laws. They make it stricter. In Australia, guess what? They don't have active shooter drills. You know why? Because they haven't had an incident in well over 25 years. When are we going to learn about that here in the States? Finally, here we have some news from my hometown of Akron, Ohio, from which we broadcast from. Shamus Malik has been elected the presumptive mayor of Akron, Ohio, the first person of color to hold the position in the city's history by an unexpectedly huge margin, like 43.15%, which is pretty good, according to the final unofficial results from the Summit County Board of Elections. Tuesday's election was only a primary, but because no Republicans ran for the mayor's seat, no independents filed, and any write-in candidates in the November general election would be unlikely to win, Malik is the presumptive winner for the mayoral seat. Malik, who's 32, he grew up in Northwest Ohio, Northwest Akron, which is a very influential part of town where a lot of the upper middle to rich live over there. He attended Firestone High School, which is considered the best high school in Akron. The Ohio State University grad, and he also studied at the Harvard Law School. And after graduating, he came back to Akron in 2016. Malik has said that he learned the importance of public service and education and hard work from his mother, who taught chemical engineering here at the University of Akron. A key component to his campaign, and the reason why he was elected, was because, again, that he got the vote out. He got the young people to get out and vote for him. A key component to the campaign is to offer a city administration that looks like the community it serves, geographically, racially, in regards to gender, LGBTQ status, and ability and life experience. Malik has spent his time on city council pushing for issues that affect marginalized groups across the city, including supporting the Civilian Oversight Board for the Akron Police Department, an issue that he has advocated for since assuming office in 2020. Malik's campaign focused on 4 areas in his Together for Akron plan: safety, economic development, health and housing, and education. The Safety Together plan includes incorporating community policing into every police officer's job duties to build trust and to get to know the community, piloting at least one police substation to support the community policing efforts, and also to develop a program in which mental health workers and social workers respond to low risk and nonviolent calls alongside officers. And the plan also calls for more funding for training, requires body cameras for SWAT detail and also off-duty jobs, and also retraining of police officers. Malik specifically noted that he will not defund the police. And within 6 months of becoming mayor, Malik will decide on either fully removing the Harold K. Stubbs Justice Center. That was the white building that you saw last summer, all the protests in front of, which houses the police department, or selecting a new location. Again, a couple of weeks ago, the grand jury came back with what's called a no bill, in which that after examining the evidence, they said that the 8 officers involved in the shooting last year of Jalen Walker, which his body was filled with 48 rounds, were not criminally liable for their actions. I have a letter to our newly elected mayor. Dear Mr. Malik, my prayers are with you as we start the difficult task of healing Akron. We have a lot of challenges here in our city. I voted for another candidate because I thought that you lacked the experience to lead the city during a difficult time in our history. My concern is that if we do not solve the immediate challenges of racially profiling in law enforcement, that this whole city will erupt in anger over these decade-old policies. Akron has been traditionally, for the past several years, a Democratic old boys network that has run the city, and you have been elected to institute the change necessary to repair the racial and economic divides that have been with us for years. You said that you would come knocking on my door in the near future. Well, if you came to my door, I would give you a wooden match to remind you that our city could go up in flames if change is not implemented. We have some time to repair the damage in our city. However, that time is very short. If I can assist in any way, please contact. Sincerely, Reverend Michael Mangus. And I did put this letter up on Nextdoor, of which Mr. Malik has put several comments up on. And he says that he reads. Let's see if he responds. I did pretty good, Diego. 20 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, that's good. Coming up here in a few minutes, right after we do a few announcements, and then we will take a break, we'll have the Reverend Karen Cleveland with us, who will tell us all about her wonderful ministry and the wonderful safaris, of which, if you'd like to have a life-changing experience coming up this year or next, you can call up Reverend Karen and go on one of the safaris. We'll also talk about other issues concerning animals and also how you can change using the science of mind principles. So for our announcements tonight, yours truly is currently parking himself at Summit CSL. For more information, go to summitcsl.org. There you will find information about our wonderful Sunday gathering online at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific time. That's in the morning. I know that's early. So grab your cup of coffee, your tea, your espresso, your boba tea, and please join us. I really do believe that we have one of the best services in New Thought because we balance all the M's, and that's music, message, and meditation. And this Sunday, we have a special guest speaker, a graduate of Holmes Institute with a master's degree in consciousness studies, the Reverend Michael Mangus. We'll have a good talk for you on Sunday. Just join us. We have not only a lot of fun, but also, again, it's really fun to be together in community. So go to summitcsl.org for more information on how to join our Zoom call. And again, our Facebook page also has past broadcasts. And also, if you go to New Thought Media Network, it's all of the past broadcasts of the Fireside Chat, plus also all the times that I do prayer in the evenings here on the New Thought Media Network. This network is changing the planet. We've been here now for 3 years, or over 3 years. Myself and Reverend Robert Brzezinski and Diego and other handful of ministers and practitioners and people who just care have been taking this message to the world, this empowering message of New Thought. And I appreciate each and every one of you for supporting our network financially. If you have not done so yet, could you please consider go to ntmedia.org/donate. There you can give a very large one-time gift if you'd like, or you can do like I do and have a sustaining gift each and every month. The sustaining gifts help us to pay salaries, regular expenses, and it really helps us again to budget. So again, you don't have to take the message to the world. We're doing that. But in your loving support, if you would financially support us, along with your prayers, we would really appreciate it. ntmedia.org/donate. All right, time for break, and then we'll have on our special guest, the Reverend Karen Cleveland. This is the Friday Evening Fireside Chat here on your New Thought Media Network.
Happy birthday, Camp Cedar Ridge. We invite you to come camp and celebrate our first year while in sacred service. May 19th through the 21st, we'll be restoring our beloved meditation labyrinth. Come camp with us for the weekend, and all we'll ask you to cover are the meals. Vegetarian, vegan, and gluten-free options are available. That's the weekend of Friday, May 19th to Sunday, May 21st. You can bring your own tent or act fast and register for one of our glamping tents or bunkhouse beds while supplies last. We do have limited indoor accommodations for an additional fee. Find more details and registration at campcedarridgeor.org/lab.
The views and opinions expressed by Pastor Michael Mangus are generally right. However, they are his own and do not reflect the views and opinions of New Thought Media Network, Centers for Spiritual Living, or any other person living or dead. As they say in the 12-Step Recovery Program, take what you like and leave the rest. Here again is Pastor Michael.
I don't know, Diego. I think sometimes that scares the guest off. Even though our legal department says we have to play it. It is my privilege this evening to introduce to you a fellow colleague, newly ordained in the Centers for Spiritual Living, the Reverend Karen Cleveland. She is a spiritual connection specialist, a New Thought minister, mindset mentor, and animal communicator. And she also offers carefully curated transformational adventures, mostly women who have lost touch with their centers. She also is the host of the Connectedness podcast, in which she teaches the same principles from, it's called Evolve, EVOLVE. Maybe we'll get into that here in a few moments, which engage the body, mind, and soul to help all listeners begin their own journey back to their heart's dreams, as well as the importance of coincidences and synchronicities in life that bring us everyday miracle and magic. And so it's really an honor to have Reverend Karen Cleveland with us this evening. Good evening. Welcome to the New Thought Media Network.
Yeah, it's awesome to be here. Thanks for having me, Reverend Michael.
Oh, thank you. So let me tell you my coincidence.
Okay, yeah.
My
please.
synchronicity. Okay. So I go ahead and I get a phone call on Monday from the Dayton Center for Spiritual Living. And they said, Reverend Michael, the minister said, I'm leaving town. And I was wondering if you would like to come and speak on May 21st. And I said, that's interesting, because I'm going to be in town that weekend for Hamvention, which is the largest gathering of amateur radio operators from around the world. So wow. So that's my synchronicity. And
Which
now,
town is that in?
Excuse me?
Where is that at? Which town?
Yes, it's in Dayton, Ohio.
Dayton. Okay.
Dayton, Ohio.
That
yes.
is. It was divinely orchestrated, wasn't it?
Oh, man, it's so cool. Yeah. So I get to write off my mileage and my hotel room and everything else. Now, in between time, I'll go to the fairgrounds for the amateur radio convention.
That's fantastic. So, I love it when life works like that.
Yeah, it was really cool. I really just was wow. And again, one of those coincidences out of the blue that I've never been invited there at all. So that was a real nice blessing to get.
Yeah.
All right. I did read a story about the Kentucky Derby here coming up this weekend. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah. My comment is, when I was in Arkansas one time, I was traveling for work, and I was at the bar and I was talking to people, and someone said they were from Louisville. I'm like, where? Where's Louisville? I had no idea. because you were talking about how to say Louisville, right? And it was like,
Yes.
I had no idea. I thought it was Louisville. Anyways, my
No,
comment.
you have to, that's a Southern pronunciation. You have to slur the words together. So it's Louisville. Go ahead.
Yeah, Louisville. So my personal opinion is that pretty much anytime people think that animals are here for their purpose and it's entertainment or even work sometimes, the animals are going to suffer for it. And I think it's really unfortunate that I don't know what's happening. Is it a coincidence that it's the same trainer, for several horses? I don't know. I think it's very sad. But
do you think that there's change going on, as far as I know, with the Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, that they are going back on the road, but they're going back on the road without animals? Any comments about that?
Which I think is fantastic. I think there's some change. I think there's some people really hard trying to bring change about. And it's actually one of my personal missions is to change the way the world thinks about animals. And I'm doing this not by trying to tell you what an animal is, but, just in different ways of the ways we connect with them or the way they are. But you know what? We haven't stopped people from harming humans. So I don't know.
Well, at least there has been some change. And I think that, as we take a look at other things, for example, the racing of animals too, I think that that's next to take a look at and say, well, enough's enough here. Again, from what I understand, the horses are under a lot of stress, especially race week. There's, again,
a lot of medication.
And we don't know, again, it's a lot of medication too. So we don't know, again, that, what happened down there. But again, that's, I think that that's a form of entertainment that's, as more people speak up about it, I think change will happen, like with the circus.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I do think it's headed the right way. It's just kind of slow sometimes.
So I know you have a ministry with animals. Well, so before we talk about the safari, so how can animals allow a connection with ourselves and the divine?
Well, speaking mostly right now to the people that have pets in their house or in their yards, in their lives, I guess, could be horses. Speaking of horses, I know a lot of people with horses that do connect with them at a deeper level. But what I have found is that the animals reflect back to us what we're thinking, what we expect, things that we don't realize we're putting out there in the world. And it's almost like a mirror to what we're putting out to the universe and God. So if we are trying to manifest something, if we're visualizing for something, but we're expecting something different, we might be praying for a brand new house and then saying, but I don't know how, I can't afford that. I'm never going to have a brand new house. Our animals are doing the same thing. We can be telling a cat to stay off the counter, but that picture we're putting out there to the cat is to be on the counter because we keep expecting them to be on the counter. Mm-hmm. And so they're really a good reflection of what we're actually doing in our head. So, I could go into that much deeper, but it's they have no filters like we do. So they don't react to things because not react, but they don't act because they're embarrassed, or they might think you're going to get mad at them, or they don't want to hurt your feelings, right? Like we do. They just do what they do. And so they're a really good reflection if we learn how to look at them that way.
Yes, our conversation this evening is reminding me of a time, I think it was like 15 years ago, in which I was asked to sit on a practitioner panel, and that the individual, I won't mention their name, but the individual was active in an animal ministry. So what we did was we had her pray for one of our sick animals. we had her do a spiritual mind treatment around that. So the interest in animal ministry is extremely active in New Thought. So this is not, there's blessing of animals at several of our centers. Again, we attract a lot of pet owners, people who love their pets. So what are some tips that you can offer us this evening to how can we use our connection with animals to shift our energy to the present and also to broaden our perspective to what's possible? How can we do that?
Wow. Okay. Well, your animals are always trying to communicate with you. So let's start there. And just like, if we've been praying and waiting for a message from God, if we're not quiet, if we're not allowing the mental space or the space for messages to come through, we're not going to get them. It's like calling a radio station, like, when they're having a contest and you call them and it's busy and you hang up and you call them and it's busy and you can never get through. You just can't get through. And that's how our minds are for so many people. So our animals can definitely help keep us learn. They can help us learn just to stay quiet and present with them, if we're snuggling with them, if we're, depending on what kind of animal they are, but if we're just present with them for a while, even if we don't intend to receive any messages, letting them know that they are our focus, that we are paying attention to them, because that presence is important for us, no matter who we're with or what we're doing. And when we have those moments of quiet, that's when divine messages come, wherever. Is it from our inner wisdom or from God or from the animal? It doesn't really matter. Information that comes to us that helps us is divinely inspired. So
where do animals go when they pass on?
Well, doggy heaven. No, they go. They are also, so you hear a lot in our teaching that people are spiritual beings and humans in human suits, dressed up in a human suit. Same things with the animals. They're spiritual beings in an animal suit. So they actually go back to the same place we go to.
Yeah, I remember going into a pet store shortly after my cat of 20 years. I had to put her asleep, and that they had no books on pet grief.
Oh, yeah.
None at all. They had, again, and just, they did not know how to handle, again, I don't know why I went in there. I think I went in there to get some solace, but
right.
They had no clue.
Right.
They had no clue. They had nothing on the shelves.
That's too
bad.
The
staff, I think I was crying to the staff a little bit.
Oh.
I couldn't. Yeah. So that was really, really,
well,
go ahead.
We have such attachments, and it's for scientific reasons, because no one else in the world do we pet as much as a cat or a dog, right? So we know scientifically when we touch another being, we get closer to them, we grow closer to them, and it helps with our imprint or attachment or whatever you want to call it. So just that alone means we can develop such a deeper bond with our animals, plus so many other things that they're always there for us. We can tell them our secrets. There's so many things. And animal chaplaincy, which is really for the person, maybe helping the animal, but it's more about helping the person when their animal passes. Such a needed thing, because people grieve bad when animals die. It's really sad.
My community thought I was crazy.
Yeah.
When I went ahead and I did a pet funeral for my cat.
Oh, really? They thought you were crazy?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Or I thought that they thought I was crazy, but people showed up.
Yeah.
But I went ahead and I had her cremated, and then we did a And that was for me. I'll be real
Yeah.
upfront. I mean, that was me working through my grief about, again, losing an animal that had gone through a lot of life changes with me over 20 years.
Right.
Going through a divorce,
Right.
being my only friend at night for several years. So Boots, I believe Boots is on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge. And
Boots
so
is waiting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we begin our own journey back to our heartstrings by the use of with our animals? How do we do that?
Well, it starts, like I was saying, with being quiet, but we usually, if we don't know what kind of questions to ask ourselves, or it can take a while, but eventually you're going to get there. But anyhow, so what a person can do is, again, just being present with the animal. So as I was saying, the animal itself doesn't have filters. It doesn't care how they're acting, if they're acting appropriately or not. I think we all know that. We've seen misbehaved animals all over the place, which, by the way, are not misbehaved. It's just that the people don't like the way they're behaving.
Yes.
Anyhow, so really sitting with them, and in that kind of presence with them, in that kind of spirit with them, and asking ourselves questions. What feels good to me? What in the moment, even if you're out or not sitting, but does this activity, does this thought, does this feel good to me, or it doesn't feel good to me? And we need to start following what feels good. So we need to start paying attention to our body and knowing what feels good. That's another thing. An animal, if you're doing something that doesn't feel good, they don't put up with it.
No,
right?
They don't.
No.
Not at all.
So why do we? Why do we have these thoughts or have these chores or these jobs that are tormenting us
Right.
when we don't like them?
And for all of my single people out there, if your animal has a negative reaction to who you bring home, you better think about having that as the last. Because animals, my experience with animals is, again, very, very intuitive. They know, again, some things that, we may be blinded by. So when you communicate with animals, what goes on with you? Do you hear a voice? Do you have a sense? Do they bark or meow? Or how do you get a sense that the animal's communicating with you?
I'm rarely in the same room as them. So I have a picture of them, usually via email or maybe on my phone. Excuse me. And I might be on the phone with the person, but it's all about energy and exchanging energy, because, we know we're energy, one big energy felt out there. And the way I actually communicate with animals is the same way we could with other people if we paid attention. Let me give you an example first of when I start talking about perhaps going to a mountain last weekend, and I was going on a hike up a mountain with the trees on the side, and there was a stream, and eventually I reached, the snow at the top, went above the tree line. You probably get some image of some kind of a trail or a forest or a mountain. We create images when we talk. And that's how we communicate with animals, is by the images we're creating and by feelings, emotions, and physical feelings. They're out there in the energy field and they pick up on them. And so I will say, why didn't you use the litter box? But it's a picture that's being created, and they understand the picture of the litter box, and then I get information back from them because, as you probably know, they don't really know language very well.
No.
And
No, they don't.
they might learn some words, they don't know. But so it's about pictures and feelings mostly. And through a process of practice and learning to interpret what certain things mean, then and by talking to the person. So I might say, I'm picking up on something round and small that looks kind of like a ball. And they might say, oh, yeah, he loves red apples, or yeah, it's a red ball, or whatever. So I might not always know exactly what it is, but I know, kind of the general shape or color or what it means to the animal. So when I'm picking up on that information, it's really a matter of pictures, but also feelings. So I pick up on physical feelings, which I didn't know for a long time. But I can walk past a person and, if I'm not watching it, I could start feeling their hurt leg or hip, or pick up on their headache. Same with emotions. You walk into a room and, they talk about the tension so thick you can cut it with a knife, right?
Mhm.
So this energy is everywhere, as I know you know, but the animals are definitely picking up on it all.
Yes.
And they transfer it. They let me know if they're feeling grief, because they do feel grief,
Mm-hmm.
Sadness, love, whatever, joy. So, yeah.
So are most behavioral problems that, in your experience, are they from not communicating with the animal, or the animal trying to tell us something?
I would say most of them are human caused.
Mm-hmm.
Either we don't explain the rules to them, and so they don't even know. Or it might be a medical issue, or they might be, just confused, or there are some rebels out there that don't care about the rules, but most of it is definitely a miscommunication. And did I mention this already? We need to say what we want. We need to tell them, you go potty outside, you can scratch on the tree. We don't say what we don't want, because that's sending the wrong picture to them. But no one ever thinks about that, really, because we don't have a, cat 101, cat communication 101 for everyone, just like babies or, dogs or whatever. You get them and you just do your best with them, and then wonder why they're not behaving like you want them to. So, yeah.
We're talking with this evening the Reverend Karen Cleveland, who, again, newly ordained in our wonderful Centers for Spiritual Living and her wonderful ministry. All right, so take me on safari.
Oh, my
This
goodness.
sounds wonderful. So what prompted you to start taking mostly women on safaris, and what do you do on these wonderful trips?
It was completely unexpected. I will tell you that. It was several years ago. I mean, I always wanted to go on safari. I love traveling, so that part is new. And someone finally asked me to go on safari, and I was in a position finally that I had the money that I might be able to. So I thought I was going to go on safari, check it off my bucket list, and move on to the next thing. Well, it turns out I got on safari, and every day, this is in Kenya, each day was more magical than the last, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe the next day could get any better at all. It might have been different animals, or it might have just, I don't know, been the arrangement. And by the end of the safari, I said to our driver, it was just three, two friends and I with the driver. I was like, I need to figure out how to bring more people back to do this, because one, it wasn't nearly as expensive as I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's such an amazing experience that a lot of people want to do, and they just don't think it's possible for a lot of reasons. But so what I'm doing now is combining things like energy exercises, connection exercises, it's intention and gratitude, just combining all these really science of mind principles together on our safaris, on our trips, to help what's the word, ignite, I guess, a transformation if it's needed, if someone is really is lost or looking for meaning or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So how can communicate? So what are some of the things that people pick up on safari that they're able then to bring back to their daily lives, especially their spiritual lives?
Well, I will tell you, when if you're out on a savanna and the Jeep stops, and it doesn't really matter what the animal is. Let's just say it's an elephant, walks right by in front of you and stops. And of course, there's herds of all these different animals all over, and looks you in the eye. You are transported to this feeling of, first, absolute connectedness with all life. So everything's going to be okay. I mean, it's like, like they say, no worries, right? So you get to this level of everything's okay, and it helps you reprioritize what's important in your life. So when you get back home, and I make journals for people for this very purpose. It's like, what is really important after knowing this connection, and what's mine to do. The other thing about safari for Westerners is it can be their first experience in a culture where there might not be running water or electricity, and people living like that. So it's also a very personal experience. And why do I have this and they don't? And not having to fix them, allowing them to be how they are, because they're often much happier than we are.
I had a friend of mine. Well, someone, we're not known in CSL for having people go on missions trips. Okay?
Right.
So my board president a few years back had the opportunity to go to Kenya. And that what I noticed is that she may have been able to help people out there, but it really changed her. Mm-hmm. Going over there. So that was you may go over there again to experience whatever, but again, you come back different.
Yeah.
You come back with a different perspective. So,
yeah.
So when's the next adventure coming up?
Actually, September 29th. And there's two people. Actually, I just heard one person can't go. So I randomly happen to have two spots open because suddenly two people can't go. But September, and then next year sometime. So we're going to be gone for 14 days. Part of that time will be on the beach, just relaxing. But most of it is going to be looking at, going from park to park, doing these exercises. And then after that, it'll be next year. I don't know when exactly. I do have a wait list started because people have already said they want to go next year.
Okay.
So yeah, it's so much fun. I mean, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would go to Kenya almost every year,
So where in Kenya are you going this coming year?
So we fly into Nairobi, and we will go north a little bit to Olpejeta, where we can see rhinoceroses, because you can't always see the rhinos like in the Masai Mara or some of the other parks. So we'll go up there. We'll see the chimpanzee that Jane Goodall helped to establish when their homeland. Now I forgot where these chimpanzees were from, because they're not native to Kenya, but there is a sanctuary there. Because of war in their native land. And then we're going to Lake Naivasha, Masai Mara, Tsavo. We're going for 2 nights. We will go to not Rupert, what's the name? The Sheldrick Elephant Trust, which they rescue baby elephants or grown elephants. So we will go there. We will adopt an elephant each and go there and see our baby elephant. Yeah. And we'll go to Amboseli, see Mount Kilimanjaro, see everything.
All right. So if someone just happens onto this broadcast and says, that sounds cool, how do they get a hold of you?
Probably the best thing is revkarencleveland.com, and there is a Safari button on there. And that's how you can find anything. I have a contact form on almost every single one of my pages, but also revkarencleveland@gmail.com. You can email.
Yeah. So why don't you say that again so Diego can put that?
Yeah, Rev Karen Cleveland, RevKarencleveland.com or @gmail.com.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll find out. We have like 3 minutes. So tell us briefly about your. It goes by quick on us on this program. So tell us about your podcast and what will people get from listening to it.
My podcast has been so much fun, and it's evolving because I thought I was going to only talk by myself on the podcast. So I talk about coincidences and miracles and what they mean to us and what they mean as far as helping us live a better life, a more meaningful life. But now I've added guests about every other week, and they're talking a broader expanse of spiritual stuff. So things that I don't know anything about or not as in depth. So I've had people talking about near-death experiences and mind-body healing. My guests just have such knowledge that I don't have. So that's been a lot of fun.
So how can people just go ahead and put connectedness into your browser and then,
either so at revkarencleveland.com, I do have a podcast button. I also have a YouTube channel. A lot of them are video, and in any podcast app, connectedness or Karen Cleveland, you can usually find me.
Wow. What a quick 35 minutes here. RevKarencleveland.com if you'd like to find out more about her wonderful work and the podcast. And also, you too can go on Safari. Yes, you too can go on Safari.
It's more possible.
And have a life-changing experience. So, Reverend Karen, again, thank you so very much. Congratulations on the ordination.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. Had a lot of fun.
So very much. All right. The music's in the background. That's my signal to we're done. So again, for more information about our network, go on ntmedia.org. There you'll find all kinds of wonderful things. Also, a project that I'm working on, go on New Thought Radio. I have been putting up programs and working on the stream. We have the best music on the planet. I believe the best inspirational music on the planet. So to be inspired, go to New Thought Radio. And again, all you need to do is just start listening. But ntmedia.org is your go-to link for that. All right. So from all of us to all of you, from our producer, Diego Reyes, and also the Reverend Karen Cleveland, I am Reverend Michael Mangus, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful week.
All right.
Thanks for joining us this evening for Friday's Fireside Chat with Pastor Michael Mangus. Join us again next week at 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain for more spiritual conversations for today. For more information and replays of past shows, please visit the New Thought Radio and Media Network's Facebook page. Until next week, may God bless you richly and abundantly.